fashion because my grandmother sewed, and I learned how to sew from her. After I got my first sewing machine, I fell in love with fashion, and I loved making clothing.
So I'm interested in fashion merchandising. At my internship at Charisma, I do a bunch of displays, so like the window and then the floor displays. And then I also like unbox and like steam like the merchandise that we get, and I like price everything.
I really enjoy working with Gina. I think this made it more fun because I knew I wasn't going in alone doing this internship, and I still have help, and we're learning together.
Maybe if you make the bags, we put them over here. We're going to add a necklace on here, and then I think we're good.
Marissa really helps me figure out what goes best with each other, with color-wise and textures, as well as fabrics. I think it's pretty fun putting everything together.
So Gina and Jessica have brought like a fresh eye to my business, and obviously they're a different demographic. So they've brought like a fresh eye on how to market that demographic and expand my audience and my target reach. I also was a super young entrepreneur myself, so I particularly love working with younger students and just inspiring them and motivating them and working with them to let them know that they could also do this one day.
I learned from interning here that running a small business can be very hard sometimes. I learned like all like the ins and outs and like everything you have to do to like keep it running and like keep the customers interested.
I love working here. This is really worth your time. Like, you learn so much, you get so much advice, and plus it's really good for college.
It's very important for us to have our students have an opportunity to share their culture, and also for our students to learn about the different cultures from their peers, and especially for our students to be able to express themselves, and for other students to learn all about these awesome superpowers that they have, both in the talent that they have and also in this cultural heritage and the background that they have that they're so proud of.
Just in general, there may be like stereotypes and stuff, and also a lot of people, especially our age, I feel like kids can be more quick to judge. So I feel like this helps break down stereotypes, and it also helps us to show who we really are. And I think like different people may also have different interests.
I really like the District 214, how they are doing, they're portraying all the cultures and the food and the drinks, and they're really proud to show their culture. And I really, really wanted to thank District 214 for bringing this kind of event to the school.
I'm super passionate about dancing, and I've always wanted to be a part of a dance group, so it was great to have the opportunity to be in one. And some people have never seen it before, so we just wanted to like get it out there and have people like know that this type of dance also exists. So, and just like introduce it to new people and maybe have them also like it and like enjoy it with us.
It's important for kids to hear the messages, to uplift them, to empower them, to make them feel good about themselves.
I think it's really awesome that we get to have this opportunity, because honestly, many schools don't get to share their Black experiences with the students, so I think it's really important.
Representing about 23, 24 different groups here, so we're super excited to really share our diversity, but also really kind of see our common humanity that really unites us all.
Around here, there's not really a lot of people are representing our cultures, so it's really important for us to get our culture out there so everyone can like see and notice like who we are and what we do and what our culture is about.
When they told me about it, I was like, what? There's no way. Like, I thought maybe it was just like one performance, but no, it's like an all-day thing. Everybody's so involved, and I think that it's so great that we get to celebrate all that.
It's a really great thing that I think our students are just very fortunate to be able to have such a diverse community here and be able to express that with the students and the staff, and even their families are coming to watch their shows, and to be able to see the diversity that they have. And sometimes you don't necessarily know somebody's background or what they're proud of, or maybe what they do outside of the school, and they don't know that about them. And so this is a place where they can come and showcase, and even with our introductions that our MCs say, they learn a little bit more about why they're doing this and why this is important for them.
I'm Shira Tavelin, and I'm having an internship here at Chief Reptile. Like, as long as they can't break my bones or like bite me with venom, I'm not that scared of them. It's been pretty fun coming here, with all the different animals here. Basically like a mini zoo. It's kind of my happy place, so I always enjoy coming here. Well, Abbottini here is probably my favorite lizard. He's a very good boy and has bright yellow eyes. He's a Solomon Island monkey-tailed skink, and I naturally love skink lizards. They have like very large bellies and little tiny arms, and I find it very adorable.
When Shira first came in, she did 30 hours, so she was here for us for a couple of weeks. She did anything simple from as cleaning the enclosure's glass to just simply taking care of the animal, taking them out, spending time with them. I know that she loved Maggie, one of our ball pythons. I know she likes Abbottini, our monkey-tailed skink, Leo, our iguana. So she also did some countings with the bugs. She counted some mealworms. That's really big help for us because if it's not there, it won't sell. So her cupping that and putting it out meant a lot to us, and helping just behind the scenes stuff, really helping to put everything out for the customers.
The interactions with the customers, a lot of these people are getting their reptile or an animal for the first time in their life, especially children. They're never going to forget this moment. It's very important for them to be a part of. Even Shara, she was involved in some of these family purchases for the animal and all the stuff that comes in it, and they're never going to forget this. This little child that's 7 or 8 years old, this is the time that they're never going to forget the day they went to the store and they interacted with these animals and their parents allowed them to get one of them.
I really like coming here because of the large variety of animals here. I'm really hoping to get a job in herpetology, which is the study of reptiles and amphibians. I always believe that you should have a job that you really enjoy, so I'm hoping I'll be able to get a job in some area of animals, with hopefully it being herpetology.
So today we're putting up the trusses, which are like the triangle shaped things. It's pretty much the framing for the roof.
All right, guys, spread out, please.
Oh, I think it's cool because I've never been like around working with roofing too much. Like I've worked with my dad, he's a carpenter, but we've mainly done stuff like inside, like rooms, like bathrooms, living rooms, stuff like that. So it's cool to see like how you actually build the framing for the stuff that I usually work inside of. I actually want to be a tradesman. Probably end up going to like fiber optics, electrician, but I wouldn't mind doing carpentry or like landscaping on the side. It's good to know. It's a lot better to know how to do it yourself and do it than to pay somebody else like all this money, especially when the only expense you would have is getting the materials, and you become like the handyman. Like people are asking you for jobs, so you get to make a little bit of money if that's what you want to do from it.
The edge of the bubble is on the line.
I've been working with my dad since like 6th grade, and he's a self-employed carpenter. And I know I've learned a lot with him, but there's like basic stuff that you can learn from here. It's been a good like refresh because like a lot of times it's just him telling me what to do. But like here you actually get to learn all like the fine specific stuff, like what tools are used for what, how to use those different tools in different ways. Now if you're interested in PAC, I would definitely join it. You get to learn a lot, so I would do it.
Being a band director is one of the best jobs you can have. I get to work with students for 4 years and develop amazing relationships and watch them grow, which is really unique compared to other teachers during the school day. And especially being a band director in District 214, which has a long and storied tradition of amazing and nationally recognized band programs. It was just an unbelievable surprise this summer when I found out that my brother Elliot was going to start working in District 214 also.
Here's the same chunk, everybody.
Growing up, obviously my family is very, very musical, and I should say our family. Both my parents are actually music teachers. Our dad was also our band director, so like talk about a wild world. We were going to all the band events, all the things. My mom was a music ed professor at the university, and that was a huge part of our lives.
When we were growing up, I of course didn't want anything to do with music, and I didn't start playing any kind of organized music until I was in high school. And that's when I joined high school band, and I did it because I was forced to. My parents made made me do band. My freshman year, that was the deal, and then I was allowed to quit after that.
We were forced to take piano lessons as kids. And I think that's one of those things that growing up being forced to do things and your parents are doing it, of course you're gonna rebel.
At the same time, I look back and I think about all the games my parents would play in the car, or now I look back and it's like, oh, my dad was quizzing me on like Mozart versus Beethoven when I was 8 on the radio, just trying to get me to figure it out, and I had no idea. That was just a game we played in the car.
They always wanted us to be like, you should be an engineer, like that's what you should do. So the fact that both Spencer and I ended up doing music and doing band and being in the same district is like serendipity. I couldn't have imagined. Like that was like a dream in some world, but it's just so cool that it happened to work out, and that's where our paths took us. Growing up, I think Spencer and I, like, we've been really close. I think there were, I have an older brother, we have an older brother, Andrew. I think it's one of those things we always looked up to one another. So I always looked up to Andrew. I tried to fill in his shoes. Spence tried to fill in mine. At least I'd like to think so. Growing up and becoming adults and going to music together, I think our relationship has become more of like best friends, right?
Elliot and I are each other's biggest cheerleaders. Band and music isn't about winning. If you could win, I don't think Miles Davis played the trumpet and said, I want to win playing trumpet. Making music and art is just about making art and doing it with other people. And so Elliot and I, we always just want to help each other do that the best that we can.
As a band director, like we, as a teacher, we are in the people business, right? We are helping produce the best humans that we can. It's helping them learn how to work really hard and become the best that they can be and fulfill their potential while they're here.
I think it's fascinating seeing our folks, because I think for them it's the same kind of shell shock. Both of our kids landed in this amazing high school district. I think for them it's almost like a new chapter of that we're just always going to be able to support each other, and we're going to be next to each other and help each other do everything. So I think it's all, I know my parents were pretty emotional when it happens, just in like this feels like a dream sometimes that this is happening.
Nanotechnology is the study of materials at the nanoscale, which is between 1 and 100 nanometers. We do two things in nanotechnology. One is we teach the general concepts of nanotechnology. We start with, scale.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Township High School District 214 Board of Education Business Meeting for Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. Can I have a roll call, please?
Dustling?
Here.
Fiorito?
Here.
Heineman?
Present.
Palmer? Present. Rauch? Present. Walker?
Here.
And Kreitzer?
Present.
We have a quorum 7-0.
Could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for approval of the agenda, please?
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Walker?
Yes.
Rauch? Aye. Dustling?
Yes.
Fiorito?
Yes.
Heineman?
Aye.
Palmer? Aye. And Kreitzer?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, 4.1, can I have approval for the minutes of the business meeting from business meeting open and closed, October 19th, 2023. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Walker?
Yes.
Heineman?
Aye.
Dustling?
Yes.
Fiorito?
Yes.
Palmer? 1 second, please. I just look at the date. Aye. Rauch? Aye. And Kreitzer?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
She's having issues with her computer.
I'm just trying to get to my board book. Apologies.
Okay, 5.1, we have a community partner recognition. Mr. Mulkey, yes.
Good evening. Thank you. Dr. Rowe, would you, Board President Kreitzer and Board Member Dustlin, please join me for partner recognition? Tonight, we are recognizing DIE Masters for its support in providing workplace experiences for our students. We welcome from DIE Masters, Paul Remington, founder. Paul, would you please join us? DIE Masters, a dedicated partner in our manufacturing pathway program, supports students
Face this way.
and educators across the district. Paul Remington serves on the board of directors for GCAMP, a coalition of manufacturers and educators promoting manufacturing as a solid career pathway through grants and work-based learning. DIE Masters hires District 214 manufacturing pathway graduates and currently employs an Elk Grove High School senior in our youth apprenticeship program. Under the guidance of Paul and a dedicated supervisor, the apprentice gains competencies through on-the-job training, earning both a paycheck and college credit for dual credit manufacturing coursework. We extend our heartfelt thanks to Paul Remington and DIE Masters for their ongoing partnership, providing work-based opportunities for our students, professional support for our manufacturing programs. Your dedication to inspiring the next generation of manufacturing professionals is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
It's not me. It's the rest of the company. I'm just the focal point at this time. But it's the people in our company that really embrace this. Last week we had a tour of manufacturing students from Elk Grove High School. We had 14 students. We had a proclamation from the state of Illinois. We had the village economic development person. And as we went around the plant, all of our employees could see what was happening because we told them what was going to happen. And then each of the managers or supervisors would explain what their career was. And so when they got done with it, and by the way, what I do is I have them put together something. I have them try to put something, assemble something. And they find it very difficult because in order to do it, you can't do it manually. But then when you go out in the plant, they can actually see the part being made, and they understand what it takes to make a quality part. Well, what was interesting, I give them a test. I tell them I'm going to give them a quiz. And the quiz is actually a survey form. So they filled out the survey, and I went through the surveys, and it's really interesting to see what they say, because in probably 50% of the cases, they said, I didn't realize there were that many different kinds of jobs in manufacturing. And that's exactly the point that we wanted to try to get across. And then other people said, I didn't realize, or now I know why things are assembled in an automatic cell with robots. Because people can't do it in the speeds or in the accuracy that needs to be. So I thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will, this will be in a prominent place, as well as I will let corporate know what's going on, and then I'm sure they'll put it on LinkedIn and Facebook. And then I'm supposed to repost it and all that kind of stuff. Thanks again. Thank you. You should have been up here. Good to see you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. I'm gonna go play tennis. I do that too.
Thank you. So we are at 5.2, the Illinois Association of School Boards. Dr. Rowe.
All right, thank you very much. It gives me great pleasure this evening to recognize Board President Alan Kreutzer, Mark Einman, and Frank Fiorito. They have been recognized by the Illinois Association of School Boards for their participation in a number of professional development and leadership activities last year during their service as school board members. IASB recognizes school board members who show a dedication and desire to learn more about local school governance, adding to their leadership skills, knowledge of state and national educational issues, and commitment to serving in trust of the communities and their students. Because of their ongoing commitment to continued learning and participation in leadership activities, they have each earned the designation of an IASB Distinguished Board Leader. Congratulations to each of you. I have a certificate for each of you, and we'll take a photo at the end of the evening. Congratulations, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. So we are at the point of public comments, and I understand no one has signed up. Okay, we'll move on. Dr. Rose, Superintendent's report.
All right, right back at it. Right back at it. I have a couple of things tonight. Our board meeting is earlier than normal in November due to the holiday and the Illinois III conference. The board, the Superintendent's Association, the School Business Officials Association coming together for that conference, which is during our normal meeting time. But because of that, being so early, I wanted to just highlight and acknowledge Veterans Day that's coming up late next week. Veterans Day is a really important day of recognition, especially for our school children and educators, where we can recognize some of the most deserving members of our community for the sacrifices that they made to afford us the opportunity to enjoy the freedoms that we value so much. I just wanted to highlight a couple of events that are occurring in the district on the 9th and the 10th. They're actually very special events. Elk Grove on the 9th is their 10th year honoring veterans with a breakfast assembly, an Army STEM truck, and then weather permitting, a very special visit from a Black Hawk helicopter to Elk Grove High School for a pretty neat event. And then at John Hersey High School on the 10th, very similar, we'll have again a breakfast, community social, military music by Hersey Band, the Army STEM truck, and the Black Hawk helicopter will return. Again, weather permitting, hoping for a nice enough day that we get our students and staff to enjoy those events. So appreciate that, and then all involved in coordinating this event. Mr. Ewing for coordinating everything. While we mentioned the III conference, and we recognized 3 of our board members, but November 15th is Board Member Appreciation Day in Illinois. And I just wanted to take a minute to recognize our 7 board members, but then board members of all kinds across Illinois. The time, the care, and the involvement that these 7 people have in our school district is deserving of way more than just a few moments to commend them for their time and dedication. Although being a board member is an elected position, it is very much a volunteer position. I try to give them a raise every year, and it still equals $0. But being a board member requires anywhere from 10 to 20 plus hours per month. You hold an officer position, Mr. Kreutzer probably puts in more than 40 or 50 hours a month in terms of meetings and conversations with me and members of our team. But the passion that they show in this school district is something to really respect and behold. They have a genuine care and love for District 214, and I really admire it. And I appreciate their support and their guidance. So I hope those of you that are here will join me in celebrating and showing your appreciation for them and all that they do for District 214. So thank you all. And then I believe we have a spotlight video ready to go this evening as I cap off my comments this evening. So some of our fine arts students and our choir students were able to spend a day together, and we have offer a glimpse of what that day was like with a special guest choral director. Enjoy.
Today is our second annual Voices of D214 festival, and so it started actually from a festival that I was a guest clinician at, and I saw that all of this particular district's beginning choirs were spending the day together, they learned music for the whole day, and then they had a performance at the end of the day. And so I came back to my colleagues of our district and I was like, we should have something like this for our beginning choir students. Stephanie Skizis was my high school choir teacher, and so Mrs. Skizis came one day at the end of my 8th grade year to work with us, and I was just like, who is this amazing lady? She has so much energy, her eyes just got so big and bright when she would conduct, and I just loved what she did. So I joined choir in high school, and she inspired me to be a high school choir teacher. But I thought, oh, what an amazing opportunity it would be if she could be the guest clinician for the Voices of D214 event.
This is just my blood. Like from the moment even when I walked out that door, when I retired, I have always loved my job because you get a chance to connect other people with music and art that speaks beyond words, right? It goes through, it transcends you. It brings people to be the highest form of human that they possibly can. I know that sounds lofty, but I truly believe it. So being able to be a part of today, it just gets that right back in my soul again, and I get so excited. I could barely sleep last night. I was so excited about coming here, and as soon as I heard the first chords coming out of them, I couldn't even breathe.
It's a new experience, plus you get the day off of school, so nothing bad about that. But you also just get to be around all the people, you know, you're always around. You get to have a good time and sing and just enjoy yourself. It's just a fun time overall.
It's really cool today because I get to dance, I get to hang out with my friends, and I get to sing, which are like my three most favorite things. And we also have an amazing director today with us, and she's great. And honestly, this is so much fun. And I can imagine like spending my day in school. I'd much rather be here.
The performance was absolutely amazing. I am so inspired by the students. They didn't know each other before coming today, but the great thing about music is that you can connect at an emotional level through music, and that's what they did in that performance. I'm just inspired, overwhelmed by the musicality, the humanness that they showed in their performance, and I loved watching Mrs. Skeezis, and you can see that all of the students were so inspired by what she's taught them, but also they were inspired just by her conducting them in the performance. So it was so great, and I'm really looking forward to next year.
And I think I even saw Mr. Dustling in the background there, busting the move in the back of the crowd. But there's something about someone who's truly passionate about what they do that's just inspiring. And Mrs. Skeezis is clearly that. That was a really great day for our kids. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. So we come to point 8, Associate Superintendent for Teaching and Learning Report, Dr. Lopez.
Thank you so much. Board members, this week the state of Illinois released its report cards, and as such I wanted to take an opportunity to discuss some highlights from the report card for District 214. There are really no surprises to the areas of need and improvement that the Board of Education and the administration have been focused on really for the last 6 months. If you recall, we've had lots of discussions about areas of concern, and I think the report card certainly represents those areas that we've been focused on. So I'm going to provide some highlights, discuss and revisit some of our path forward, what we're going to do to address these areas of concern, and revisit some of the student profiles just to sort of illustrate for the board where our students are heading and how these benchmarks and test scores that students are taking, how it impacts them and their future. So first thing, the state report card really has thousands and thousands of data points. So I'm going to highlight some of the most obvious ones that when you visit the school report card, you'll see. The first is sort of this summative designation for the quality of schools, right? And this is an index score of 100 points. Schools that scored 90 points and above, they are considered in the top 10% and are identified as exemplary schools. Only the top 10% of overall performance of schools can be identified as exemplary, right? So only 10%. And then for schools that do not perform in the top 10%, those have an opportunity to earn commendable if they achieve these specific benchmarks. Again, on all sorts of variety of data points. So for our schools, we actually previewed this in the spring. Sorry about that. And all of our schools were identified as either commendable, or exemplary. We had 2 schools that were exemplary, and the remaining schools were commendable. As a district, we averaged about an 83.4, which is the top 20% of schools across the state. Keeping in mind only the schools that scored 90 or above on the index were identified as exemplary. So, one of the first things you see on our school report card, one of the first boxes, and these are all the data charts directly from the school report card, is chronic absenteeism, which this board has discussed on many occasions. It really is significant and profound that we reached really a historic high for the district of 28.3% of our students who are considered chronically absent. We had an entire board session where we focused on this and talked about efforts that we're doing to address that, which I will revisit later. Also, the percent of students who are chronically truant, these are students who have missed 5% or more school days without a valid excuse. So those that haven't been called out for any reason. That's also fairly high at 18.7%. So you can imagine the impact this has on our schools when about a third of our students are not attending regularly. So one of the next items on the school report card is being 9th grade on track. Now in this metric, we're fairly stable. There's not really a statistically significant difference across the years. We had a slight uptick here in 2020, but certainly solidly 92.5%. Obviously, we can continue to work on that and keep improving that. So that's certainly a high threshold. The next is our graduation rate. And our graduation rate, even for last year at 92.5, 92.2, is slightly below last year, but it's not, if you look at 2018, we're at 91.8. It's still fairly flat and fairly stable. Certainly things that we have focused on, particularly during the pandemic. We invested heavily in credit recovery in summer school and expanding offerings in summer school. This summer school, we had a record number of students who were participating this past year. And so this continues to be an area where we try to ensure that our seniors, our 9th graders are on track to graduate, and our seniors don't fall behind there at the last minute. This is also on the school report card, and it's important to share. So we are now at 15.1% of our students who are English learners, and that's above the state average. I share this in the sense that keep in mind that our students, including our newcomer students, all take the same assessments, whether you've been in country for 6 months, 1 month, or many years. All these students take the same assessments as the rest of our students. That same College Board SAT test, the same Illinois Science Assessment as well. And so this is sort of the first graph I just want to share with you related to our performance on evidence-based reading and writing benchmarks. And so the first part of the graph there is blue and represents ISB, the Illinois State Board of Education's benchmark that they've established for the state. That benchmark is set at 540, a 540 benchmark in order to meet standards in evidence-based reading and writing. In the green is the College Board benchmark. That is nationally recognized both by our colleges across the country as well as in our state as meeting the benchmark of students that are college ready. So that benchmark is 480 for evidence-based reading and writing. And then we have dual credit partners where students are actually able to access college level coursework while they're with us. Their benchmark begins at 430, so this would be primarily Eastern Illinois University with us, and students accessing college composition, college lit, and college speech. And so if you look at those combined, that represents all of the students that are accessing college level work, as well as ISB's benchmark for meeting the state standards that are aligned to the Illinois state standards, which are and that is an important distinction. It's not about college readiness, it's about common core standards that the state adopted. So The next graph, this one is one that we've only recently began testing, which is the Illinois Science Assessment. And I think it's important for the board to be familiar with this. So this is based on the Next Generation Science Standards. It's about a 2.5-hour test. All of our juniors are required to take it. The content includes biology, physics, earth science, space science. It's all the Next Generation Science Standards. We actually do really well. We have schools reaching out to us to ask us how we're doing in the context of the state. We're at 67.3% of our students that are performing well on the science assessment by the state. And I just want to point out, just for us to sort of understand what this means, is that we have 67% of students performing on the science assessment that you would presume you should be able to read at a fairly high level in order to perform well. But the state's benchmark for evidence-based reading and writing of 540 represents 43%. We do have community members that see that and will say, okay, does that mean only 43% of our students can read? And I want to provide the context that that is not what that means. We have 67% of our students that are performing high enough to meet proficiency standards on the science assessment as juniors for Next Generation Science Standards. So there really is a bit of a disconnect, which is why I include for you both the College Board benchmark and our university partner benchmarks for that specific area. It doesn't mean in any measure that we do not have work to do in this area. We do. But it is an important context, at least to understand. This is our math benchmarks. So the state benchmark in math is 540. I want you to know that is correlated with readiness for calculus, college calculus. The College Board benchmark in math, which is also correlated with college calculus, is 530. And then we have our university partner, Eastern Illinois University, where students are able to access both college algebra as well as our college human endeavors, which is a quantitative math course, which about 34% of those students are accessing that course as well. So about 79% of our students are in college level math courses while they are still with us. Okay. So I wanted to also provide this one. So looking at our data demographically, right? And what does that mean? So this is using College Board's accountability benchmarks, which are nationally recognized for students that are ready for college level work. All of the things that we're doing with both Pathways and with our early college access is about ensuring students can take the next step when they leave us post-high school. And this is broken off demographically. So based on the College Board benchmarks and the state's benchmarks, this represents the percentage of students that are performing really on that test in about the top third of students. And so as you can see there, about 63% of our students are performing significantly above average overall in reading, evidence-based reading and writing, about 45% in math. And then you have the demographic breakups there as well. Again, we have significant work to do with our populations and closing those achievement gaps, increasing achievement levels among those groups, but this provides a demographic breakdown. Now, post-secondary remediation. This was something that we've been very proud of. And you can see we started at 35% of our students were requiring remediation as early as the class of graduating class of 2013, I believe would be that first one there. We've done a lot of work and significantly dropped that down to 12% with the class of 2020. And there was a slight uptick last year, both in the state and in the district at 13.9. So this would be an area that we don't want to lose track on, and we want to ensure that we continue to help students meet the benchmarks they need so that when they're leaving us, they're not in remedial courses in college. So we've certainly spoken about all of these things while we've been here as a board, addressing chronic absenteeism. We have monthly letters related to attendance so parents are more aware. We have to collectively address certainly that issue. We can't have 30% of our students not coming to school on a regular basis. I mean, that has a significant impact on performance across the board. We've invested in increased access to mental health services so students don't have to stay home and that they're getting support at school, as well as access to outside service providers when that's needed, both for the family as well as our individual students. We are implementing our SAT strategic plan, which incorporates both SAT prep programs to ensure students that the test itself isn't the barrier to them performing. Keep in mind, sometimes it's a language barrier, sometimes it's a barrier related to their familiarity. The test is now digital. So if you recall at one point, the SAT was paper and pencil. It is now a digital assessment. And so there is going to be a transition of students learning how to take the assessment now digitally. We've implemented academic interventions in math. We made a significant investment as a board, as a district, in order to provide direct support to students. Keep in mind that was focused on our incoming freshmen, and for our incoming freshmen that were several grades below in math readiness. We need to focus on our English learners. I mean, we have grown significantly with our English learners, and we have to, one, we've been building capacity of our teachers who have English and EL endorsements. We've invested in a director for EL whose full-time job is to help support our staff, be ready and provide professional development for our staff to work with English learners and be able to differentiate instruction. And we've invested in staff professional development in all of those areas in order to ensure that we can meet students where they're at. So I'm just going to highlight this one last point real quick. These are just examples of our students, and this is the class of 2022. I'm going to update some with the class of 23. It's just an example of across the board what a typical student looks like. Keeping in mind that the state benchmark for evidence-based reading and writing is 540, and for math is 540. In math, that is the calculus readiness benchmark. And the state benchmark in evidence-based reading and writing is about 60 points above what is needed for college readiness according to the College Board. So here's a student, a real student, who took all of these courses, was very successful, earned all sorts of early college credit, this is a successful student. But the state does not recognize this student as meeting standards. This is another student. This student went on to, and these are actually what I should highlight on the top. Illinois State University is where the student currently is at. They're studying history and special ed. This student was from Elk Grove, going to Harper, and then going to transition to U of I in the 2+2 program. You can see the number of AP courses the student took. They took college composition while they're with us and college speech, getting all of that out of the way, obviously interested in automotive repair and sort of working with their hands. This student from Rolling Meadows, Harper, and then going on to Eastern Illinois University, one of our partners. You can see they're interested in doing psych, which is certainly exciting. School psych, I believe, is the focus. And I've also mentioned on the slides, you'll see their work-based learning experiences, and if they've done some unique experiences there. None of these students met the state benchmark. Percy student, DePaul University pre-law. And a Prospect student, U of I, Psych and Health. They took plenty of AP classes, did the CNA course with us, which is certainly a challenging experience, and is off to U of I. And this is Wheeling, this student, University of Illinois in Chicago. You can see their courses they took. They also did a lot of work with ABB Industrial Robotics. You've seen the lab there. And they've done educational field experience. This is a student that looked like they were experimenting with different types of career paths because they did the ed pathway a little bit too. Oh, I think that's my last slide. Yeah, so let me go, I'll just go back to our previous slide here and focus on that. And at this point, then I'll answer any questions or do my best to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
So one of the statistics was the four-year graduation rate. Does that statistic include our students who are with us till age 22? Or is that only our more typical trended students?
I don't remember.
It's actually a complicated statistic because technically when a student turns, when graduates from high school, but they're staying in our life program, they don't get their diploma until 22. State law just changed to allow them to receive a continuation graduation certificate that would alter that, and then they would get like a completion of like a life program at 22. So that law just changed, but technically they do not receive their diploma until they're finished with us in their 22nd, at the end of the school year following their 22nd birthday.
So then they won't be graduating under the old regime?
Under the old, they wouldn't be.
They wouldn't be, so is part of that
We've
statistic?
been chasing that statistic for years, but I don't believe that it's not significant enough to make a 7-point swing. It's about 100 students or so in our life program now.
But I also thought that the student had to be in the same school for 4 years. I thought that was part of the equation also.
Well, if one of our students leaves and transfers, and we don't have that, it's the cohort of students that graduate. The cohort, the percentage of students that graduate in 4 years in the same cohort. So if they move away and they don't stay, they don't get added to another cohort, that the number gets a little wonky. Either way, I think where you're going, our numbers can be higher than 90%.
Okay.
The only thing I would say is they used to report 4- and 5-year graduation rates, which they don't now. They do the 4-year.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all.
But both freshmen on track and graduation rate is an area that should be, and it will be an emphasis of ours. We can see both of those increasing.
Mr. Fiorito.
Okay, I'm going to go a little bit ahead because this is probably something we might have talked about in board member updates, but there were several of us that went to the North Coast dinner on Monday, and your presentation is incredibly timely based on what we heard from the state superintendent, Dr. Tony Sanders. And just a couple things that he said that pretty much you addressed in this presentation. And the first is the unfairness of some of these measurements. He made it perfectly clear that, as you pointed out, those 6 students that we saw from each of our schools, and you look at them and they're all extremely successful, but based on our current standards, they're all deemed as failures, which is really insulting. So that was one. And the second is, which a lot of people who are hopefully watching tonight, the measurements of schools is, just in my opinion, is ridiculous. It is one of the worst bell-shaped curves that you can have. So basically, you could be a phenomenal school in that top 10%, and based on what somebody else does and has a little bit of improvement measurement, you just slip out because you're not in the top 10%. And then you got the bottom 5% too. So basically you have 10% of greatness, 5% of not so good, and then 85% that are just sitting there in the middle. And then people judge, their school districts based on that, and it's really unfair because most school districts are successful, but they're in that lumped in at 85, and people don't understand why they can't be in the top 10%. I think one of the best things that I can give credit for this board and you, Laz, and this is before my time, is that one of the things that Dr. Sanders addressed was the ELA scores were really good. He was really happy about how ELA scores really picked up. Math wasn't so much. And so when he talked about that on Monday, I thought to myself, it's interesting that the math scores weren't so good, and it's something that we all have to work on, and yet d214 had the vision last year, or actually this year, so in the spring, to implement this academic interventions and math game program. That I know you had to tell me what the acronym was once, but it's interesting that you guys are already ahead of the curve. We're ahead of the curve, and that's what Sanders addressed. And then he also obviously talked about chronic absenteeism as well. So it was really a great presentation, and you addressed a lot of the components that he spoke to right here. And it's clear that at least we have a path to improve ourselves, but we all should still feel good about that our schools are successful. Can they be better? Absolutely, yes. We can always be better. But sometimes we focus on that commendable and exemplary, and it really doesn't tell the entire picture. Thank you, lots.
Mr. Dudley, do you have any comments?
Yes.
Just, Les, would you just give me some examples of the post-secondary remediation, what they are, where they might take place?
Yeah, so it's exclusively with the community college, that particular data point. It's how many of our students leave us, go to community college, and end up in developmental ed. And so we really, as a state and as a district, have dropped that number significantly. But we did uptick that during that one last class by a little bit, so it's something that we want to pay attention to.
But in the last 10 years, we've taken it down dramatically.
Yes.
From those that had to have extra courses to qualify for entry-level community college work.
Yes.
This report is really good. And I assume that we'll be seeing it again. Will it have to be contingent upon the state coming out with their report, or can we update this maybe on a half-year basis or something like that?
I know, I imagine this will be one of the superintendent's goals, and that he'll work with the board to determine when the appropriate times are for different updates for portions of it.
Okay. But the not having students graduating without having to be remediated and going to a community college at the level that we brought it down to is really good. So thank you.
Thanks.
Ms. Rao?
Yes, Dr. Lopez, excellent report. I really appreciate the data. Very thorough. I do have a question. I appreciate Mr. Dustling asking about the remediation. So those are strictly based on courses taken at the community college?
Yes.
So students also could be taking remedial courses at any other university, or?
It is not as common because, you know, there's acceptance criteria to the university. So the reason they do community college is because they accept everyone. There's no, right? So it's open enrollment. Universities are not necessarily open enrollment. You have to be accepted, and typically they don't accept you if you need remedial coursework. It could be though that they put you in a specific class expecting that you'll be able to be successful there, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's based on open enrollment schools, which are our community colleges.
Okay. My main question, though, is we see that our ninth graders are on track. And as you said, I mean, that number really hasn't fluctuated much. What is the metric used to determine that they are on track? Is that their ninth grade PSAT that they take in the spring of their ninth grade year? Or is that on, okay. And so, out of curiosity.
I believe it's a combination of things, their PSAT performance, but also the number of courses they pass as a freshman.
Yes.
Okay, so it is.
Not more than one failure as a freshman.
I see.
Would mean you're not on track. It's accumulating a certain number of credits for freshmen.
Okay, so there's not a linear correlation then to the EBRW benchmark, and it's not like it looks like for 490 and then up to 5. Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Walker?
Just a couple comments and a question. Dr. Lopez, when we stop tracking 5-year graduation rates, what do we know about them? You know, if you do the quick math, very broad, right? It's about 900 students that don't graduate in 4 years. You take 12,000 times the second.
Well, there's only 3,000 per year so it's 92% of our 3,000 graduation class. So it would be roughly 200 and some odd students, right? So, and between all the schools, it's about maybe 30 or 40 per school. But that doesn't mean they don't graduate by that summer. I mean, there's a significant number of students and a lot of work that happens in all of our schools to ensure students make it to graduation. Sometimes they have to be in summer school with us, and then they graduate in August, or they wrap up in August. Very few are actually with us for a 5th year.
So we are on track. That was the point.
Yes.
Earlier today, after I was reading this, I was talking with a neighbor, and they jumped to the conclusion it's 7% of 12. I said, no, absolutely not. So I wanted to get it out there that it is a very small amount of.
It's certainly important. Every student matters, but I would say a majority of those students are finishing up during summer school. They just aren't making it in May. And I can certainly try to, if you want more information on that, I can certainly collect that.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I think the point is that, you know, it's tracking well. We have, you know, we know there's improvement to be made, but I wanted to make it known to those at home that the math that some people are jumping to is not correct.
Correct. It's out of the 3,000, about 3,000 graduates per year.
Perfect. Thanks for the clarity.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hyman? Are you good? Okay. Well, that was my point to the state superintendent on Monday, is clarity on the state report card. There is no, like I said to him, I said, there is no explanation of what this is. You don't explain what graduation rate is. You don't explain what the 43% is. It's just mind-boggling. You just put the number out there without any explanation. That drives me crazy. He agreed with me. I don't know if it's gonna change, but that's always been my bugaboo about it. And of course, it gets in the paper that, your graduation rate is 92%. Yeah, okay, so what happened to the other kids, Yeah, it's not good, in my opinion. It's never been good. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I would make a comment. Dr. Lopez, appreciate the presentation. As kind of a new person to the team, we have a lot to be proud of in District 214. Our students have experiential learning opportunities that are second to none, probably in the nation. The personalization of learning through our pathways is exceptional in our kids, as I said, exceptional learning opportunities. And while I agree that a single test on a given day cannot define who a learner is, Dr. Lopez painted a really great picture of students who don't quote unquote meet the state benchmark, yet are extremely successful. And I think that this room is filled with educators and successful people who may not have met a benchmark in life and have performed very, very well throughout their career. So it certainly obviously can happen. But I think the thing that we have to keep in mind and we have to acknowledge is, as has been mentioned, we can always be better. And our focus should be, and moving forward will be on growth, is that our trend data has not been in the upward direction. And it's something we've talked about as a team, something from principals to superintendency we all acknowledge and are not satisfied with. So year over year, our goal is that we incrementally are seeing continual improvement. Some years it may be a big jump, some years it may be a very nominal jump because each cohort of students are different. But I just wanted to state, while I totally agree, and I have, as I've shared with anyone who asks, I have so much fun coming to work here every single day and really enjoying the people and the learning experiences. But we all acknowledge that there's improvement to be made, and I just want you to know and say publicly that that's something that we will be laser focused on, because we have the capacity in this district to do a lot of things at a very high level. And academic continual growth on academics is one of them. So graduation rate, freshmen on track, and year over year improvement on our standardized assessments is the expectations that we hold ourselves to. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lopez. Okay.
Can I make one more comment?
Oh, go ahead.
I think too, to your point, Dr. Rowe, it's not like everybody's doing the same thing they did last year and expecting different results. This is a living document, a living and breathing organization that just adapts and then overcomes. And sometimes the overcome rate is not as high as we want it. But it's not like we're standing still and not trying to get there. So kudos to everybody that's out here. I always tell you, my 4 kids had a great experience here. I hope every kid has that experience here. But there's challenges now, and I know you guys are rising to it. So I don't want this report card to just think that it's, well, check the box and we're not doing it. The time and effort that goes in is amazing. So thank you to everybody.
Okay, thank you. We come to the Associate Superintendent for Business Services report. Mr. Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. I have a very short report here, just a quick update. Just a very quick update here on our 2 audits that thank you very much, Board, for your consideration and approval at the last meeting. On October 19th to approve the Truveris pharmacy audit. Our team is working diligently with the Truveris folks, and we expect by the end of the calendar year to have a complete audit of at least our first 3 quarters worth of claims so that we can get some general sense of where we're at with that. moving forward, they'll be monitoring ongoing and providing quarterly updates to our insurance committee on that. So hoping for some very good news and hold our pharmacy vendors to a very high standard. And then the other is the spyglass that's for our telecom billing audit, and we expect in the next 4 to 6 weeks to have some initial information from that. Mr. Vargas and Mr. Budzinski are working with that vendor on that. And last but not least, some really good news out of the Village of Elk Grove. The Midway Court TIF. I know we've talked at the table here before, and I know Mr. Maggi and his team put a TIF map together for us with 19 TIFs. We came to realization the other day when we got the news that the Midway Court TIF is being retired, that we actually have 20 TIFs. It just didn't make our documents, and it's leaving our documents quickly, which is nice. The village had a very purposeful plan, and they've executed it. The anticipation is that the assessed value of that space, which was a concrete recycling plant turned data center, is going to go from about $1.5 million to somewhere in the $18 to $24 million range. And so this according to Aristelianis, our expert Cook County tax guy, he won't be quoted as saying it is the shortest, but it is one of the shortest TIFs on record. So again, kudos to the village for executing that plan, and we anticipate that assessed value to return to the tax rolls in 2024 tax levy cycle. And that's all I have.
Yeah, that cement mixing plant was put there when they were doing major construction on the tollway. So they had to put a plant somewhere. It was in Elk Grove. Thank you. Board member updates. Anybody want to start? Mr. Dustling, you have anything?
Sure.
Sure.
As a member of the insurance committee, I just wanted, we're in the sign-up period for the benefits. At this point, it'll end on the 10th of November. We have about 1,700 benefit eligible employees. Around 65% of them have already signed up either online or with American Fidelity, a sign-up group that is there. There are a number of employees that don't have to do anything during sign-up if they're not going to change anything that they're doing. But I want to give a shout out to Kelly Janis, who's done a super job with all the locations, going out there individually herself and meeting with people, and I have no doubt that they'll have the enrollment program completed by next week Friday. The other thing, I have a couple of fine arts things that I attended. I was at Elk Grove High School last night. They had the musical Matilda, and the music director there, Ron Fiorito, had 3 of his children who are in Elk Grove High School in the play, so it was kind of their play. I was at Rolling Meadows. I've been to a number of high schools for their choral performances this fall. Just each of the high schools I was at takes very good care of making sure that the center schools, their choirs are there on that night that they perform together, and it's usually around an hour and a half, and they do a very good job. I was at Wheeling's pop concert last weekend, and Marilyn Barbera, it's her first year to run the Pops concert. But the name of the theme was American Like Me. And it really grabbed the whole audience. The place was packed in the gym. But the idea was to focus on the varied cultures and whatever that are at Wheeling High School and of course throughout the district. And they did a very good job. And at the end, they brought in Alegra Mexicana, which is a dance group, and they had the orchestra playing with this group, and the chorus was singing. They were on the stage. It was really quite moving to see it all done. So they did a good job. And of course, we've got District Fine Arts doing their usual thing. This time they had Visual Arts Day here, and they brought in an artist, Nicole Gordon. She was amazing, absolutely amazing. So she kicked the whole thing off, and then the students broke down for the rest of the day so they could go through some of the techniques with her and some of the other people that they brought in to educate them. So it was a great day. Overall, I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Mr. Fiorito?
Yeah, I have a couple. I mentioned the North Cook dinner, but I won't expand on that anymore. I want to give a shout out to Dr. McFall, the parent-teacher conferences that were held. My daughter's a freshman at Hersey, and as I heard from many parents, the conferences were outstanding. Audrey probably can comment about Buffalo Grove too, but big thumbs up on how it went. I want to give a shout out to all the D214 student athletes that will be competing in state competition this weekend. The 2 football teams, many girls swimmers and divers at the various sectionals, as well as the cross-country runners in both boys and girls divisions. Good luck to all of our students. I hope they do well. And last but not least, I'm a big supporter of the D214 Wild Sting. I know Mr. Dessling is as well. They have their Maker Fair this Saturday and next Saturday to get younger students involved in STEM, and robotics is where it's at. That's it.
Ms. Palmer? I'll be pretty quick. There's a couple craft fairs coming up for those of us who enjoy craft fairs. They're just so much fun. You could go to one this weekend at Elk Grove High School. I've been to that many times in the past. It's an excellent craft fair. And then there's one coming up Sunday, November 19th at Prospect, also a great craft fair. Here's the thing though, bring a couple extra bucks because you'll pay to get in, and that will support different boosters organizations. There'll be opportunities to buy things like bags of popcorn when you're there, or a cookie or two, also supporting our booster orgs, or a PTO or a PTA. There's different organizations that'll be at the craft fairs from the schools, using that as a way to get money that goes directly back to our students. So some fun shopping, some fun bargains to be had, and a way to be able to support those organizations. Hope you enjoy.
Thank you. Mr. Hyman, anything?
I attended the North Cook meeting on Monday night, and again, that was very worthwhile. Last week, I was at the French Exchange welcome for the kids from France that had come over, and that is just such a worthwhile program, and glad to see it. Actually, I found out there's a Spanish one also, and that's the one that started it all up. I knew all about the Italian one and the French one, but first time I had heard of the Spanish one, which was the oldest one. And my grandkids enjoyed a fun night, Monday night, pre-Halloween at Prospect High School. They had different rooms set up different ways, and I think the biggest problem was in the hallways. There were so many kids, it was hard to move around. So.
Thank you. Mr. Walker?
I have a couple. So first we'll start with community ed. Community education travel registration opened yesterday. There's a wide variety of both local, national, and international experiences. Magician Bill Cook will be performing on Sunday, November 12th at 3 p.m. in this building at the Forest View Educational Center. And as always, you can go to ce.d214.org. So ce.d214.org to have more information. As board members, we also have other committees that we're on. I'm lucky enough to be on the NSSCO board, and I'll give you a couple updates on that if I may. So we had the audit committee met with the auditors yesterday, and the board passed a resolution to accept the audit. The 22-23 audit was completed by Essesian, formerly Eder and Casala and Company. NSSCO's audited financial statements, Federal Audit A133, and Annual Statement of Affairs were completed and electronically submitted to the Illinois State Board of Education. I continue to serve on the Finance Committee. All 8 sending districts are represented, and 2 board members from NSSCO are also on that committee. Meetings are scheduled for a review of the budget prep, and the budget will be presented in April to the NSSCO board for approval. Dates for the committee meetings are January 25th, March 7th, and March 21st. Giving a shout out to Molly Dunn. This is an acronym I was not aware of. IAASE, which is the Illinois Alliance of Administrators of Special Education. She was given the Trailblazer Award. She's recognized by her peers as an astounding leader, compassionate collaborator, and a tremendous asset to NSSCO. And that completes my updates. Oh, one more, sorry, I knew there was one more. Archon, who we had last week, they are also doing a comprehensive facility assessment for all the buildings in NSSCO. So stay tuned for more exciting news about that.
That'll be interesting. That'll be an interesting report.
It's already begun to be interesting.
Those buildings are old, and that first major construction they had when they completed the gym last year was the first time they did, any construction. So, Ms. Rowe.
Thank you. First of all, let me shout out to our post-secondary counselors and student services. Right now for seniors, it's crunch time. Yesterday was the first deadline for applications to colleges. But this process starts actually early in their junior year, where the post-secondary counselors organize events and meetings to get the students prepared for what they're going to do after they leave us. As prepared as they are, they then go do something. They cover all areas, not just college. They look at the military options, the different manufacturing and other areas that students can go into, and they really, get them on track so that by the time May comes and graduation takes place, they're ready to hit the road running themselves. So a definite shout out to them. Also, again, all the student services departments and the teachers who write recommendations. They do that on their own time, and I know that they have a lot going on in their own lives, but thank you again for taking time to put our students first for that. Along the lines of conferences, it did go well. I would like to really acknowledge Buffalo Grove. Their dedication and commitment to students. They had some involving technical issues that day, but that didn't stop them, whether it was phone calls, Zoom calls. They put their students first and made every effort to contact the parents and make sure conferences happened. Also, that includes not just EA members, but ESP, running between rooms to make sure that if they had a translator or anything on calls. So it was all hands on deck, and again, thank you to Buffalo Grove. And also in our IT department, sometimes we forget how important things are that just run by themselves. Anna Estrada was a huge help that day and making sure things continue to run its course. Lastly, as you mentioned, I'm on a parent-teacher advisory committee, and we will be having a meeting coming up here with the DHSSWs on November 13th that morning, and we'll have an update following that. So, thank you.
Good, thank you. I just have a few things. We celebrated Bus Driver Appreciation Day with some coffee and some sweat. That was on the 23rd of October, and the kudos to the specialized schools who hosted their annual fall festival last Friday. And at the division meeting where we had Dr. Sanders, I was also elected to another 2 years as a North Cook director. As a director for North Cook, I represent not only District 214, but a total of 39 school districts within the North Cook division. And so going to the conference for I've got the resolution committee report. There are 5 resolutions that we are going to vote on, besides the election of officers, industrial construction, school resource officer, bus driver regulation, employment history review, and alternative safe school funding. And I appreciate everybody that's submitted their ballot. Thank you very much. I got all 7 now. Just to point out that, there's a couple, there's 3 here do not adopt and 2 do adopt. So there could be a variety of reasons for do not adopt. 1, there could be a position statement for it. 2, it could already exist. And 3, it could be, doesn't fit into the core values that were established last year, or it would affect a single district. So you really had to read the resolutions, but I was just happy to see 5 this year, because 2 years ago, I think there were 20. But thank you, everybody. Moving on, now we have discussion items. We have 11.1, tentative tax levy. You're up again, Mr. Keegan.
So this evening is the first of 2 steps with our 2023 tax levy. We're going to do a quick overview of the levy and describe the process, and I'm happy to answer any questions either during or after the presentation. So what is a tax levy? The tax levy is the primary funding mechanism for school districts here in the state of Illinois, and it allows us to sufficiently fund all the great things that the board members just spoke of that our students and staff are doing in buildings. Again, the purpose of the levy, it provides the vast majority, oh gosh, I forgot I'm doing this, sorry guys. So 91% of our revenue comes by way of the tax levy. That's a very important figure. You can see state and federal revenue make up the remainder. And what that represents within that local revenue, the tax levy portion of it funds about 79% of all expenditures in the school district. So this is a very critical step for the Board of Education to take. And then our tax levy for 2023 is paid out over 2 different fiscal years. The first payment in fiscal year 24 in the spring, and then the second in the fall of fiscal year 25. So it all happens in calendar year 2024. One of the things that our Board of Education and many boards of education in Cook County have discussed over certainly the last year and a half, but for as long as time has existed, is the critical nature of timing with tax bills and processing of it. And last year there were significant delays, and that's when we start talking about how that impacts our cash flow, how we can continue keeping the lights on and doing business as usual. So on the top here in the red is what we consider a normal tax cycle. Normal never happening really. But as you can see in August, we're expecting the agency report, which is the estimate of the prior year tax levy, which helps us finalize our budget. Then September, we anticipate the second installment tax bill, which would then generate that second half of the revenue. We would be performing our audit, and with that revenue coming in, can close the books. And then December, we're finalizing the tax levy. The column below is essentially what we're seeing this year. We're a little bit behind, not getting the second installment until November, which then in turn delays our audit really. And so we've asked for an extension with the ROE and received it, but certainly hoping that we can move closer to normal as we move forward. So the tax levy is rather complex. I could bore everyone to tears, but it can be challenging because there's a lot of variables we don't know. What we do know is last year's tax levy. We just received our agency report as indicated. We have outstanding debt, some bond payments that are prescribed in the original offering. We know the consumer price index from last December, and then we know our tax rate limits. What we don't know, the big number, is the assessed value of our property. So we do take an educated guess at that, as well as what new property and construction is coming onto the tax rolls. Again, we look at CPI. We've provided a chart here showing the trend. You can see with inflation rather high. The next agenda item we'll talk about, as you see in the early part of the last decade, rather low inflation, and that impacted some of our outstanding debt. So the equalized assessed value is, that's the big number that we're working on here, and the different factors that go into it there that it's overlaid. The equalizer, that's the countywide factor that the county utilizes to assure a uniform assessment across all taxing bodies. Again, we have the assessed property value. It's going to be less tax exemptions, whether personal or corporate, and then the frozen increment of value in tips, which we'll touch on here shortly. So again, exemptions, you can see on the left side, those are your typical homeowner exemptions. This is a slide that's been shown year after year here with the board, so I imagine you're familiar with it. And on the right is the commercial and industrial exemptions, which are there to encourage redevelopment and improvement of properties. So TIF, I've mentioned that a few times, it stands for tax increment financing, and it's a way for municipalities to essentially pump money into blighted parts of their community, into areas that aren't developing as well, areas that have reduced value over years, etc. The one that I mentioned during my earlier report is a wonderful example. They don't all work out that way. Statutorily, they can go up to 23 years without any further vote. They can freeze the value there. So, as you can see from the chart here, what we do is the base EAV there, that rectangle on the bottom, that is the assessed value that's able to generate the revenue in that area during that time. And as you can see above it, the value is theoretically growing, and any additional revenue being generated is put back into the TIF to reinvest into that property. And then when you hit the expiration, then it's all released back to the rolls. So as I said earlier, we have 20 right now, TIFs. We've got one in Buffalo Grove coming on, and we've got one in Wheeling going off in addition to the Elk Grove one. So it's important for us each year to be tracking those and accounting for them when we do our levy requests. Here's the map I mentioned before. Anyone in the crowd with a telescope can see that, but we're going to be putting this on the website. It's a really good graphic that kind of shows the extent of the frozen value in our communities. There are some significant TIFs. In fact, one in Elk Grove is about $600 million of assessed value. To put that in perspective, our entire school district on that map is $11 billion. So in just one of those TIFs, and that one has been going since, I believe, 2015, and the assessed value at the time was about $300 million, so it's doubled in value in that time. So when that does expire, eventually that will certainly help, and when the additional value comes on for commercial and industrial, it helps our residential taxpayers.
Like 5%.
Significant, very significant.
You're basically looking at, I don't know if that's 50% of the industrial park, but it's a good portion of the industrial park.
It is.
In Elk Grove.
It is that big orange one that you see
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah, and there's 3,600 businesses, I think, in the
Okay.
industrial park, yeah.
Statutorily, the school district has to present the fund balances during this tax levy presentation, during the tax levy process. This is a new law that went into effect in the last year or two. These are unaudited fund balances as of June 30th. As mentioned in an earlier slide, quite a bit is being held up because of those delayed tax bills. Therefore, we're providing the unaudited figures. Next, we have the formula for the actual computation of the tax rate. It's on the prior slide, sorry. And we're going to take about an hour and a half here to go through this, and then there will be a quiz. But again, essentially the biggest factor for us is that consumer price index and our value. So we're watching the TIFs, we're watching new property, we're making sure that we're capturing the appropriate figures with that tax levy. And then finally, the next steps. Tonight we're having this discussion here to present the levy to the Board of Education. We'll have a final truth and taxation hearing at the December 4th meeting, and the board will make a recommendation for the board to adopt that tax levy. And the Business Services Department will file it with Cook County prior to December 26th. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Board members? Anyone? Onward. Did you have something, Bill? Go ahead.
I'm always amazed.
Is your
I'm always
microphone on?
amazed at what you have to go through to get to the tax levy when you're dealing with two different years, really. And the information is delayed, and really, there's a certain amount of this that you gain perspective historically with your experience and other things you look at in the back, but a certain amount of it is a guess as you move forward. And the unfortunate thing is, December 1st is the date when everybody has to have their taxes paid. And that doesn't change, but the time and the information that you have to work with, that just kind of fluctuates wherever the legislature or politics takes it. And that's truly unfortunate. But you do a great job and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I got my tax bill in the mail. I went up 30%. I was watching, GN had the assessor on. Is it Craigie? Fritz. He was talking about the Board of Review abated 20% of the, I'll just say businesses, I can't think of the word he used, and a significant lower amount for homeowners. And that's why you see the adjustment in taxes, because they've cut the businesses so much higher. The Board of Review did, and I thought it was an interesting. I didn't know what happened, so it was interesting to listen to him. But anyway, go ahead. Next one.
Okay, so the next discussion item is on the supplemental tax levy. So there's a resolution in your packet as well as a short memo that we put together in our office. And it's regarding the District 2020, the Series 2020 bonds, which were refunding of the 2011-2012 series bonds. So when the 2011-2012 series bonds were issued under our debt service extension base, the structure of that, of the payback, was predicated on a 2% CPI for the life of the payback. And unfortunately, in the first couple of years of that, we didn't pace at that. So this resolution that you have before you that we will be asking for approval at the December 14th meeting allows the district to capture those additional funds to meet the debt payments.
Board members?
I have a quick question. So is that a one-time, or will that be then ongoing from there?
It's a one-time, and it lasts until the debt is paid off.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're at a roll call for 12.1 accounts payable. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call roll.
Palmer. Aye. Heineman.
Aye.
Dessling.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Ralph. Aye. Walker.
Yes.
Kreitzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. 12.2, approval to dispose of closed audio recordings pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
The motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call roll.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Palmer. Aye. Dessling.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Ralph. Aye. Walker.
Yes.
And Kreitzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
12.3, approval of Freedom of Information Act report. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call roll.
Heineman.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
Dessling.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Palmer. Aye. Ralph. Aye. And Kreitzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. 12.4, approval of bond record keeping report. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. I can't remember, is this a yearly? Yearly? Okay, that's what I thought. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Palmer. Aye. Ralph. Aye. Dessling.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreitzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
12.5, approval of resolution recognizing Illinois School Board Member Day, November 15th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Mr. Dessling.
Whereas the school board members are elected to sit in trust for their diverse communities, and in that capacity are charged with meeting the community's expectations and aspirations for the public education of our children. And whereas school board members are entrusted with the guardianship and wise expenditure of scarce tax dollars, they are responsible for maintaining and preserving the buildings, grounds, and other areas of the school district that the community has put in their trust. And whereas school board members are responsible for providing leadership that ensures a clear, shared vision of public education for their schools that sets high standards for the education of all students and requires the effective and efficient operation of their districts. And whereas school board members adopt public policy to give voice to that leadership and employ a superintendent to administer board policy, they are also responsible for the regular monitoring of the district's performance and compliance with state policy. And whereas school board members selflessly donate countless hours of public service with no compensation, and whereas employers are supportive of their employees who serve as school board members, generously lending support and time, employers give their employees the opportunity to better serve the needs of the school districts and citizens they represent through sometimes tremendous sacrifice to the employer. And whereas decisions made by the school board members directly impact the quality of life in their communities, placing them at the front line of the American democracy. Now therefore be it resolved by Township High School District 214 Board of Education that we proclaim November 15th, 2023 as School Board Members Day as a way to honor those citizens who devote so much of their time and energy for the education of our children, adopted this second day of November 2023.
Thank you. Additional comments? Call the roll.
Dustling?
Yes.
Palmer?
Aye.
Fiorito?
Yes.
Heineman?
Aye.
Rauch? Walker?
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Let's see, 12.6, approval of resolution recognizing American education.
So moved.
Support Week, Professional Day, thank you. And there was a second? Mr. Heineman.
I'd like to read this resolution. Whereas public schools are the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they'll need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality. And whereas by equipping young Americans with both practical skills and broader intellectual abilities, public schools give them hope for and access to a productive future. And whereas education employees, be they custodians, teachers, education support personnel, support staff, bus drivers, or food service workers, work tirelessly to serve our children and communities with care and professionalism. And whereas public schools are community linchpins, bringing together adults and children, educators and volunteers, business leaders and elected officials in a common enterprise. Now therefore, we, serving as a Board of Education of High School District 214, do hereby proclaim November 13 through 17, 2023 as a 102nd annual observance of American Education Week, and Wednesday, November 15, 2023 as Education Support Professionals Day. We urge all citizens to make a commitment to public education and to the future of our communities by visiting their local public schools and donating their time and talents to help make the public schools even better. Adopted this second day of November 2023.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Heineman?
Aye.
Rauch? Aye. Dustling?
Yes.
Fiorito?
Yes.
Palmer?
Aye.
Walker?
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
7-0.
Thank you. 12.7, approval of resolution recognizing National Apprenticeship Week.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, Mr. Walker.
Resolution is whereas National Apprenticeship Week is celebrating the 9th anniversary of raising awareness of the vital role registered apprenticeships provide in creating opportunities by allowing apprentices to earn while they learn and preparing a pathway to good quality jobs and well-paying careers in Illinois and across the nation. And whereas the Board of Education recognizes the urgent need to prepare and maintain an inclusive, diverse, and highly skilled workforce that is capable of meeting the demands of the industry we serve and are fortifying our economy. And whereas registered apprenticeship programs enable employers, to develop and train their future workforce while offering career seekers pathways to good quality jobs and well-paying careers. And whereas District 214 recognizes the role of registered apprenticeship in expanding opportunities in our workforce that are inclusive of individuals who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality, thus providing a path for all qualified individuals, including women, youth, people of color, rural communities, justice-involved individuals, and individuals with disability to become apprentices and contribute to America's industries. And whereas District 214 recognizes that registered apprenticeship, a proven and industry-driven training model, is recognized as a key strategy to improving job quality and creating access to good-paying, family-sustaining jobs for all, starting with youth and young adults while addressing some of our nation's pressing workforce challenges, such as rebuilding our country's infrastructure, addressing critical supply chain demands, supporting a clean energy workforce, modernizing our cybersecurity response, and responding to care economy issues. Now, therefore, the District 214 Board of Education calls upon industry partners to recognize the value of registered apprenticeships and to promote industry awareness and expansion during the 9th anniversary of National Apprenticeship Week. That's November 13th through November 19th, 2023, adopted this second day of November 2023.
Thank you.
In addition, I have a couple of comments if I may.
Go ahead.
So 214 apprenticeships, it should be known that this is the 5th cohort of students. We've grown from 3 cybersecurity students in year 1 to 44 students today. Students currently participate in apprenticeships in 13 different occupations. There are over a dozen employer partners hosting students, including High School District 214. If we could work on an Audible apprenticeship, I would appreciate it. The more I read, I like to get into the Audible book if I could. So this is a great program, and I'm glad I was able to read it, and I fully support it. We go for a vote.
Thank you. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Rauch.
Aye.
Heineman.
Aye.
Dessling.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Palmer.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreitzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
I believe there's a, some sort of celebration on Friday next, on the 19th, yes, something like that?
Kathy left already, but there is, next Friday, we provided our,
Well, anyway, yes,
we
so,
invited our apprentices, their families, and all the administrators of the board to attend for
Good.
breakfast.
yeah, I can't make
It's
it.
on the 17th.
Yeah, the 17th, yeah, I can't make it.
Thank you, yes, 17.
Okay, so 12.8, approval of resolution authorizing purchase of real estate for the practical architectural construction program. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Dr. Lopez, you want to talk about this house?
Sure, we talked about it at the last board, at the last meeting. This is the house on 201 North Elm Street in Mount Prospect, Illinois. We made an offer to purchase of $240,000. Closing is tomorrow, and so hopefully the board approves the purchase so that we can close and acquire the house. This will be the project for next year. We'll be wrapping up the current house in Rolling Meadows, hopefully putting it up on the market by May, and this will be the project that'll begin next summer with our students.
Yeah, look forward to the open house in Rolling Meadows. I think it's been a few years since we had a house in Mount Prospect.
It has. I don't recall. I know Arlington Heights we had. I can't recall Mount Prospect.
Yeah, I seem to remember one on Rand Road or something, I don't know. We can never get a house in Elk Grove though, can we? Yeah. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Palmer. Aye. Delsing.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Rauch.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. I need a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing the employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, volunteers, or legal counsel for Code 5 ILCS 122CI. We should be about 15 minutes, maybe.
20.
Yeah, and then we will have action after closed session. Thank you. 15.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Call the roll.
Palmer.
Aye.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Delsing.
Yes.
Heineman.
Aye.
Rauch.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye, thank you.
You can read those now, whenever.
open session. We have the consent agenda, approval of the personnel transaction report, and the memo of understanding with Arlington Heights.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
I would just like the, for the memo of understanding with Arlington Heights, I'd just like to thank the Arlington Heights Police Department for responding to our questions that we had and providing us that information. Thank you.
I should also add, a board member reached out about who the owner of buildings are, and referencing as the board as the owner. I spoke with Mr. Reckhoff, the village manager of Arlington Heights, who contacted Fusus, and at the 11th hour found out they were able to make the adjustment in that contract. Go ahead and sign it, but we'll have an amendment, and we'll either get new signatures, but it'll read the reference the district as the owner, not the board as the owner. Minor update, but we have the updated contract language in your, actually I forgot when they did it for us today. But the updated contract language is there for it to be signed, but it will reference the district as the owner.
You know what, I have one more comment. Thank you for that clarification, Dr. Rowe. Considering that it was on the news this evening and in the paper and everything, I just want to emphasize that they have access to this when a 911 call comes in, and that this is for the betterment of our students and our staff. We're not looking to have constant eye from a third party or anything. The only other comment I brought up last meeting, I don't know if we've found out yet, other departments, have we followed up on that yet? What other departments have something similar? We have, okay, and you'll update us at some time.
Yes, and I think today, from my perspective, today in the news exposure is actually positive. That'll hopefully be the catalyst for more school districts and police departments to kind of, garner some interest there.
Whatever enhances the security and safety of the students and the staff is always going to receive my vote. There's no doubt about it.
Here,
So
here.
whatever it is, it's always going to receive my
100%.
Call the roll.
Palmer.
Aye.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Dustling.
vote. Yes?
Heineman.
Aye.
Rauch.
Aye.
Walker.
Yes.
And Kreutzer.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Motion to adjourn.
So,
I heard 3.
Is there a second? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Rauch.
aye.
Heineman.
Aye.
Dustling.
Yes.
Fiorito.
Yes.
Palmer.
I need to think about it, guys.
Okay.
All right, aye.
Walker.
Yes.
Kreutzer.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 9:02.
And wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Good night.